Hello, everyone, and welcome to our webinar with the United Church of Christ Musicians Association. My name is Karen Ware-Jackson, and I'm the webinar coordinator for PRC, Practical Resources for Churches. We are a nonprofit ecumenical resource center offering consultants, workshops, webinars, and resources to congregations and individuals. We're able to do this thanks to the generous support of our subscribers. You can see on the screen our judicatory subscribers, and most of those are regional governing bodies for different churches and denominations. So if you are a member of a church or a music director at a church that is part of one of these regional governing bodies, please thank your conference, your judicatory staff, and thank them for subscribing to PRC. You can also be an individual or a church subscriber to PRC, and the great benefit that you get as a subscriber is not just access to our webinars, because of course we do provide these for free as a service to the larger church. But as a subscriber, you get access to our consultants. And we say at PRC that everyone has a calling and ours is helping you. So we are here to answer any of your questions, from QuickBooks to curriculum to why isn't my live stream working to what professional music organization might I join? We are here to help you with that. You can email a question, you can call us with a question, and if we don't know the answer, we will find the answer and we will send it to you. I can't tell you how many people I have had to learn strange features of like Zoom and YouTube, and then I've walked them through that over the last year to help our subscribers that were struggling with strange technology glitches, and sort of learned how to do that, and I would walk them through it. So that's what we're here to do for you as PRC. If you are interested in learning more about PRC or becoming a subscriber, I put some links in the chat. We also have a couple webinars coming up next week that I suspect will be of interest to you. If you are interested in the UCC MA, you are probably also interested in a return to congregational singing and how we might do that. We're setting up a webinar with Brian Hinn from the Center for Congregational Song and Carrie Rushing from the Presbyterian Association of Musicians. And we are going to be providing a panel discussion with some great information about that. That's going to be next Tuesday, June 1st at 3:30. And then the next day, on June 2nd at 2 p.m., we're having a webinar with CCLI and CCS on copyright solutions. So I will put the links to those in the chat in just a little bit. But for now, I want to go ahead and turn it over to the folks that you are here to learn about, the United Church of Christ Musicians Association. And I'm going to turn it over to Greg.
Thank you, Karen, and thank you for hosting us this afternoon. It's my privilege to welcome all of you to this webinar, and I want to thank Practical Resources for Churches for the opportunity to share a little bit about who we are and our excitement for our upcoming biannual conference in July, and some of the ways that we may be able to help support, nourish, and inspire your ministry. I'm coming to you from my office at my church, First Congregational United Church of Christ in Sarasota, Florida this afternoon. So I'd like to first of all introduce, and I wanted to say too that I am the president-elect of our organization. And having said that, I want to introduce our current president, Michele Hecht, who is in Glen Ellen, Illinois, a suburb of Chicago. And Michele is going to share some of our history and our mission for the UCC MA.
Thank you, Greg. Hello, everyone. I'm so glad to be here with you today, to be able to have this opportunity to share with you what might feel like a secret. Our organization has been around for almost 30 years, but we're still trying to get the word out because we are a grassroots organization associated with the United Church of Christ. We were founded in 1993. As Greg mentioned, I am the president. I've been president for almost 2 years. And as soon as the end of our conference takes place in July, Greg will be taking over as president. We are a nonprofit, national organization. And as I mentioned, we're grassroots, so we are member supported. We do have membership dues, but we do have visions for more inclusivity in the future, and we're working on wonderful programs to make that possible. We are run entirely by volunteers. So we have a volunteer board, and we come to you from all over the country. I'm going to share with you our website as I'm speaking right now, so you can see there's some slides from previous conferences. But our board, as I mentioned, they're all volunteers, and we all pretty much started as people who attended these conferences. We found out about a conference through either mailings or a friend or a colleague, and attended a conference and thought, wow, where has this been my whole life? How did I not know about this? This was so fabulous. And we got to know each other and made great friends who I've kept for many years now. And we got involved on the board. We have people from like myself in Illinois. We have people in California on our board. We have board members from Missouri, from Minnesota, from Pennsylvania, Virginia, Massachusetts, Connecticut, Maine, and Florida. So all the four corners of the US are represented here. And so we try to represent everyone in the UCC as much as we can. And as you can see here, our mission is to inspire, educate, and nurture those who minister through music and the arts. So we're not limited to musicians. We do focus on music and how that integrates with worship and fellowship. But we often have ministers and lay leaders attend our conferences and our workshops as well. So, and we're open to all denominations. Anyone who would find music inspiring is welcome in our organization and our conferences and all of our events. And the biggest thing we do is, and the main thing that we do is these conferences. And we do it basically every other year. There's been some years when we've done back to back, but basically it takes us 2 years to plan these because they're large events, usually 2 or 3 days together. And we try to move them around the country. And so we've had over a dozen conferences in these almost 30 years. And the last one we did in 2019 was in Madison, Wisconsin. The one before that in 2017 was in Boston. 2015 was here in Illinois, and I was the chair of that conference at Elmhurst College, which is in a suburb of Chicago. It's a UCC affiliated college. And before that, Seattle and Burlington, Vermont. We try to move them all over the place, and we try to focus and really feature those local folks and what they have to offer. So we find clinicians who are in that area because there are great musicians and leaders and educators all over, and we try to highlight them. So we do have our conference coming up in July, and I'm going to let Angela talk about that a little bit later, more in detail. But the other things that we do, besides run these big conferences, are we offer workshops. And in this past year, we've, of course, made the transition to being online, so in the form of webinars, but we have done in the past in-person workshops around the country in various regions. So workshops, webinars, and then one of my favorite things is our journal, which again, one of my colleagues here will speak about in detail later, but we offer a professional journal filled to the brim with wonderful articles on how to do your ministry, pastoral care, handbell techniques, choral anthems that we recommend, hymn singing, congregational singing, dance, you name it. We try to offer a wide variety, but very professional, academic journal from experts in their field. And we do that 3 times a year. And we also have a newsletter and a Facebook group, and our members can ask questions of each other, get ideas, especially during this pandemic, where we've all been reaching out to one another. How are you doing this? I'm struggling with this, and we have our members to support one another there. My story and how I got involved is back in 2010, I saw a mailing come across my desk that said there was a conference in Grand Rapids, Michigan, and it was going to be about really innovative worship, and there was going to be some jazz, Vespers, which was new to me back then, and it just sounded really exciting. And I thought, well, I can drive there. That's drivable. So off I went, and that was my introduction to UCCMA. And I am still friends with the folks that I met at that conference over 10 years ago. And we keep those relationships going. So I encourage you to look more into our website here that you can see. And we've got information about our conference. You can find out about, you can list job openings here if you're looking for a music director or an organist or any sort of leader in your church. We can list that for you here as well. And you don't have to be a member to do that. And it's a wonderful organization. So I encourage you to find out more about it. And I'm going to turn it over. I'm going to turn it back to Greg, and he'll tell us who's going to talk next.
Thank you, Michele. I always appreciate your enthusiasm for our organization. And so thank you for sharing some of our rich history and our past. Next, I'd like to invite Don Shire, who is in Minneapolis, Minnesota, to share with us a little bit about our marketing and membership that Don oversees for our board of directors. Don?
Thank you, Greg. As he said, my name is Don Shire, and I currently serve as Director of Music Ministries at First Congregational United Church of Christ Church in Anoka, Minnesota, which is a northwest suburb of Minneapolis. I'm really happy to be here today. So our organization currently has 262 members. 93 of those reside in the New England area, but as Michele said, we are cross-country from Hawaii to the deep south to Minnesota up north here. And of course, out east. We have our newsletter, which is published about 6 times a year. It's a wonderful newsletter. Our printed journal, beautiful color photos, as Michele mentioned, 3 times a year. And Eric's going to go into more detail about that, so I won't steal his thunder about that. We offer a job placement listing within our organization. So if you have a position open, you can post it through that. If you're looking for a position, if you happen to be in the right area, or maybe you're making to make a move to Minnesota, you can check out that and use that for some career placement. We have our biennial conference, which is coming up this summer. Angela's going to talk to you about that. And that was my first experience at the Boston conference about 4 years ago now. And it's why I'm here, it's why I'm on the board, and it's why I'm a member. Our membership offers an online address directory, so you have contact information for other members, colleagues, and certainly friends that you meet, as I can attest to everybody that's on this webinar right now presenting. We offer our webinars, we offer workshops, and we have a Facebook page that we have interaction with, and also a Facebook group where people can post, members can post anything they want to, upcoming concerts. Hey, I wrote this song, you guys may want to use it, and so on. Our membership costs are very, very reasonable. A year's membership currently is $75 a year, and a 2-year membership is $130 a year. But we have some really cool things in the works that I'll just kind of hint at. We're looking at a new membership model where if the stars align, it's going to be very easy for your team members, including your pastors, to have access to the good work that we do to create a more cohesive effort for spreading the word of the United Church of Christ Musicians Association and just coming together more as a cohesive team within your own congregations rather than just one dedicated person or maybe 2. So that's something we're working on as well. We're looking at blogging, and we're really putting under the microscope diversity and inclusion and ways to do better at that, to be more inclusive and offer more diverse offerings, music presenters, the whole gamut. We have some unique qualities in the United Church of Christ Musicians Association. As a member of AGO and ACDA, what I really appreciate about this is that UCC music programs tend to be smaller in size, and that can mean small choirs of 5 to 9 to 15 to 75. And certainly we have some larger choirs as well, but there's a commonality amongst that offers really, really good support amongst its members. So we can share resources and this and that. Also, our staff oftentimes is not a full-time director of music. The majority of our staff, you know, that's part of the UCCMA is part-time or maybe even a volunteer. And that changes the scope of things as well. Comments that I've heard from other members is that the offerings for the United Church of Christ Musicians Association are really, really practical. And again, that hints back at the commonality of size of programs and size of congregations. And it's something that people can use. Other people have shared with me that they don't have a highly trained choir to pull off the requiems and the big masses and this and that, large works and bodies of music. So the resources are really geared and they're practical for the size of their congregation and music programs. What also goes with that is a budget. I've heard that our congregation doesn't have a large budget, maybe zero, and that our resources and our conferences are very affordable, as well as the membership. So people can easily, if there are some monies available, it's not going to break the budget, or maybe sometimes people want to pay out of pocket and this and that. But like I said, down the road, we're looking at some membership options that should kind of chip away at that as well. I've also heard that the community within the UCCMA is the best. I've met colleagues who are now friends that I reach out to on a regular basis. Like, what are you guys doing for this? What are you guys doing for that? And you know, we've all been through this pandemic in the last year, and I don't think that has ever rang more true than the interactions between the membership in the last year of like, what's a Zoom call? How do we do church like this? And we've been as proactive and productive as we can to try to meet some of those needs, as is PRC. Thank you for your good work with that. Lastly, I want to share what this organization has meant for me. So as I said, my first experience was the conference in Boston. And certainly our conferences are filled with wonderful opportunities to hone your skills, to be a sharper handbell conductor, to be a better organist, to be a better choral conductor, and this and that. And for where I'm at with my career, I love that. And I have attended many, many years of sessions and workshops to develop that. But what I'm getting the most out of this right now with my age and where I'm at in my career is that this organization dedicates a good amount of time at conferences to ministering to the minister. And what I mean by that is we all, especially in the last year, have had challenging things that we've never thought we've had to deal with before. And even in a regular programmatic church year, it's so easy for us to be ministering to and not take time to be filled ourselves. Our conferences and our organizations do just that. And I can give a couple examples. In Boston, I attended a workshop, and luckily I wasn't in need of it, but I thought it was so interesting, about what happens when things break down between the pastor and the music director. And there's conflict. What do you do? How do we do that? And it was a very well-led workshop in as much as this wasn't to be a gripe session or therapy, just practical ideas people could exchange with each other to take care of themselves, to keep themselves filled, to continue on in ministry. We had anointing of the hands with a wonderful program thanking us for the countless and thousands of hours our hands collectively have made music, whether that's ringing bells, playing an organ, directing a choir, playing a violin, whatever that is. In Madison a couple of years ago, we had similar workshops where, how are you guys doing? What can we do to support each other? There was a labyrinth. So there's a whole spiritual feeding that that's my favorite part of this organization where I'm at in my career. I can't stress that enough. And it's so important because, as with anything in life, we have to be filled. We have to have the energy and renewal to do life, especially in a challenging year like we've just seen. So with that, I'm going to end my presentation. I think you're going to love this organization. I encourage you to join it, and I'm going to turn this back over to Greg.
Thank you, Don, for so personally and so beautifully sharing what membership in the United Church of Christ Musicians Association means to you. We're grateful for you. Thank you for sharing. Next, I'm excited to turn you over to Angela Salcedo, who is in Glastonbury, Connecticut. And Angela has been working tirelessly for the last year with a dedicated team in Glastonbury and the surrounding area to plan and pull off our next national biannual conference in Glastonbury in July. So Angela, share some of the plans for our conference with us.
Hi, everyone. I'm glad to be here to share with you about our national conference. Mind you, at first, we were really hoping for this conference to be in person. And in February, we quickly shifted to this is going to be virtual. And I might say that we have planned this conference in such a way that you will feel as if you're here in Glastonbury, Connecticut, in person, experiencing this virtually, but in person. You'll feel like here. And so we have tried to highlight all of our Hartford area musicians, all the way from Hartford down to Yale. So we have a lot to offer. Let me tell you the details. Well, for example, this conference has a great theme. It's a brave new world. And it certainly is, with us experiencing this pandemic for most of us, the first time ever in our lives. And how are we going to build music programs post-COVID? And so this conference has focused on just new ways of thinking about music and our efforts of where we're going to put this all together. And so again, our conference is July 8th through the 10th. It's 3 days of inspiring workshop. Our theme, like I said, is a brave new world. And our committee really has decided we needed to move into hypo mode to get this virtual conference to you in a way that it's comfortable. It's user friendly. So as Michele has mentioned and Greg has mentioned, that this is a biannual event. So for all you musicians out there, this is an excellent educational opportunity to help with your creativity and planning for your music program. But as well, again, it's an interrelationship between ministers and their musicians. So we have ministers participating with us, working together to find creative ways of worship. And each day of the conference will have a short morning service, and we've tried to be creative, and hopefully you can bring ideas back to your ministers, and the musical ideas that we'll share here. Again, this conference has 3 areas: handbells and organ. We have presenters that are absolutely well esteemed in our area, and plus we have extracurricular activities which are also included throughout this workshop. For example, noontime there'll be a bird watch, a Glastonbury, just as if you were here with us. And on this platform, this user-friendly platform, through this streaming company for AV Now, you can, even if you tire of hourly workshops, which is what we all would experience in person, you can visit exhibit halls. And that's what we have here. You can always go to our main home page of this platform, and you can explore exhibit halls 3D, just as if you're going to walk through a room here at Birch and experience various vendors, composers, area quilters that we have incorporated into our exhibit halls. So let me talk you through a little bit of our presenters and what the day will look like. So we start in the evening with a welcome from Michele Hecht, whom you've already met here, who is our president of the United Church of Christ Musicians Association, and she's been our president for 2 years. After a welcome, we will move into an anthem reading session. Our various anthems will be presented by 4 musicians from our board, and you get to sing along at home with these musicians playing through the anthems, but actual music in front of you. I'm sorry, from the Pepper Music. The anthem session will be followed by an afterglow social time. We were sitting together in our Schultz, meet faces, people you've never met before, reconnect with colleagues whom you haven't seen for a long time. So these afterglow sessions will happen around 9 o'clock at night for around a half an hour, and there'll be some trivia games and just fun getting to know each other. You could, if you'd like, take a glass of wine at home and you're out afterwards, just reminisce Thursday night and Friday. And so now I want to share some of our clinicians that we'll have. We are highlighting Dr. Lisa Clayton from the University of Connecticut, who will bring to us a gospel experience. She'll have a gospel choir here. She'll sing and show us a little bit of how we should sing gospel music. Walden Moore from Yale will be leading us in an interactive conversation workshop on how to rebuild our choir programs post-COVID. Joe Otterbach will guide us on finding the jazz in the spiritual genre. Michelle Horsley will open our ears to the world of rhythms to congregational singing. Jeffrey Briller, Yale improvisation specialist, will add some tools on our toolbox for the art of improvisation. We will actually have 3 volunteers that he will demonstrate just simple procedures on how to make one hymn tune that you will create sound like an amazing piece, just with a few tools in the toolbox. Like I said, he'll give you patterns that, like, for example, you might open with just 3 simple notes in the pedal that you'll repeat, and then you'll play a melody, a hymn tune of your choice, and then he'll give you a simple accompaniment. Before you know it, it's like, wow, I've created this amazing improvisation. And so many of us need this skill in our ministers are always asking us during leave or during communion. And I think, and he will be performing an improvisation for prelude and postlude for our festival service at which will end on Saturday at 4 o'clock. We have Larry Burdensi, who will be with us for our handbell track. He'll teach us about developing handbell choir and advanced techniques that we find in our repertoire. For our choral track, we have the esteemed Michele Lafall, whose children's choir, Chorus Angelicus, has impressed our Connecticut audiences for over a decade with their gorgeous vocal sound. We have internationally acclaimed composer Keith Hampton. He will guide us with his bold composing ideas. Again, a brave new world, new ideas. M.T. Winter, who is our professor emeritus at the Hartford Divinity School. And she is just inspiring to listen to because she has really found how her spiritual life is interconnected with music and that music has developed her spiritual life, vice versa. For our festival service, we have Reverend John Dorhauer, our National Conference Minister, who will be speaking to us. Some other extracurricular events, I mentioned the tour of Main Street. This will be led by Kasha Bro, and she will also lead us on a bird walk and a little bit of Tai Chi Chi she will introduce us to. So these are just a few other events. I'm trying to think, I myself will be presenting new organ music. And again, I'm trying to incorporate music from just recently, 2020. So I'll play through a few pieces and in various seasons of the church, Easter and Christmas and Advent, and music for what we call our Pipe Screams concert here in Hartford. Every year we have a Pipe Screams concert, and it really is, we try to introduce some music that people know as scary organ music, but yet it's a way to educate the community to the world of organ. And so we bring them in with the Toccata and Fugue in D minor, and we let them leave here with just great organ music. So I'm hoping that I've inspired you to learn some new pieces for our upcoming season. We want to be inspired with new ideas, and that's what our association is about. It's about us filling our souls with music and inspiring each other to be better musicians, to open our minds to new ideas, new music, new choral techniques, and just filling our spiritual souls, nourishing us as musicians. And we're alone a lot. Musicians are alone a lot of the time. So this conference is just a way for us to fill our spiritual and musical souls. So you can sign up for our virtual conference through www.ucc.org. And the conference, if you can't find a way to, or if you don't have the time and you'll be away between July 8th and the 10th, you have a month to participate and listen to all of these wonderful workshops. The fee for regular members is $245 to participate, and for non-members, $325. It's a worthwhile continuing education event, and hopefully your employer should help to pay for your registration fee if they're financially able to do so. And I hope that you will want to participate. Again, you do not need to be a Church of Christ member. You could be a musician from a different denomination. We all share the same types of music and hymns. And I do want to say this will be a conference you'll not want to miss. So I look forward to meeting each and every one of you on our virtual platform.
Thank you so much, Angela. We are really looking forward to 3 days just jam-packed full of continuing education and inspiration and spiritual nourishment and fellowship. And thank you for all of your careful planning and sharing the vision of that. Again, that's Thursday, July 8th through the festival closing worship on Saturday, July 10th. And to see all of the details and to register, simply go to uccma.org. Michele has placed it in the chat screen for you to make it easy there. Next, I'd like to introduce to you Eric Dundore from Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania, to share his thoughts of our exciting journals and newsletters that we have to offer.
Good afternoon, everyone. Greetings from St. Paul's United Church of Christ here in Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania, central Pennsylvania. We're very pleased that we're able to speak to you today. I am the editor of the UCC Journal, but I'm also going to speak to you about your other modes of getting information from this organization. And I'd like to start with sharing my screen for the newsletter that we provide to the membership. And so I am trying to share that right now. Hopefully you're seeing the most recent newsletter from April of 2021. And I'll just lead you through this a little bit so that you can see what you can gain from being a part of the organization. The president, our lovely president, Michele, always leads us from the top of the newsletter. There's information about the conference coming up and connections directly to the website that would be of interest to you. We had a virtual choir project that Keith Hampton arranged, or that he organized for us, of a piece that Michele wrote and performed in as well. And that is there available on the, it's available on our website as well, but it was available on the newsletter that came out in April. The information about the upcoming election to our board, all kinds of information there. We have usually a member of the month. As you can see, Craig Simons from Connecticut was the member of the month. We have different prayers, job listings, submissions for the newsletter, and so forth. How to donate. We certainly want to encourage that. Social media, and then our lovely, lovely face shots of the board members that are currently serving the UCCMA. This is done every month or so, every month or two, and goes out directly to your email address and keeps you up to date on what's happening with the organization and anything that's important that we feel needs to be shared. I am the editor of the journal, Worship, Music, and Ministry, and the primary publication of the United Church of Christ Musicians Association. It strives to provide church musicians, clergy, and worship planners with relevant and practical resources to assist in creating spiritual and transformative worship experiences. And so this is the publication that we've been doing 3 times a year over the last almost 30 years now. And it gets mailed to you, has gotten mailed to you in the past. At this point, we have one more printed and mailed issue of this journal, and we'll talk a little bit about where we're going in the future. But let me just walk you through a few things here when it comes to the journal itself and how it can serve you and your congregation as to what you want to do in your worship experience. As you can see, a page of contents, and a note from me about what's in the journal. You can see we normally, every edition has a dance, a sacred dance article that's presented by various and different dance choreography persons throughout the country. This next article was presented by a good friend of mine, weaving psalms through our Lenten practice. And this was the winter edition, which spoke to festivals and times in the church between January and May. And so we had all kinds of different times of the year that were being addressed. Pentecost, a very important visual artist that is challenging us to use visuals for the Pentecost season. Article by Reverend Luty, who is begging us not to take the Seder service away from our Jewish friends. A few prayers that were added, Ash Wednesday pieces that were suggested by membership and given to us as ones that have been successful in their ministry. Worship through jazz. Reverend Cliff Airy almost always presents a jazz article in all of our journals. Some thoughts about handbell ringing from a gentleman I know from Florida. And then in this issue also, we had pieces of music that you could use. One from our current president, Michele Hecht, one from a gentleman who is an Emmy Award winning composer who has a connection to the UCC Church in Connecticut. And then one, a Palm Sunday hymn that was written by a lady who is currently online with us right now, Amanda Eudice Kessler, who wrote a wonderful piece. As you can see, we print these pieces in the journal, and we have them here for you to use. And they are always your permission, the permission of the composer has always been given for the free use of them in the service. So as you can see, this hymn from Amanda, wonderful piece used for Palm Sunday. She explains the piece toward the end of the article here. And we are so grateful that we have had her submission with us through this last year of journals. I am very honored to be able to present these journals each year. We had a very special one last year that addressed social justice springing forth from worship services. And there were so many things that came up during the summer last year where social justice was an important facet of what we were thinking and what we were doing in the church. This coming summer, we are this current issue that we're about to send out to you deals with healing in the church and healing in worship services, and how that can be a very important part of what we do coming out of the pandemic. How do we honor those who have lost lives? How do we honor those families that are dealing with grief and health issues and all that kind of thing? It's a very meaningful issue that's coming out here very shortly. The issue that we are having this summer is a hybrid issue that will be the final issue that will be mailed, printed and mailed to you, to the membership, but also be placed online for everybody to see. We're very excited about the fact that our journal is becoming a totally digital endeavor and will be online for members to see and use and have the immediacy of links to websites, to webinars, to podcasts, to YouTube videos, to all kinds of different media that you can't do with a printed journal. And so we're very excited about this new format, so that starting with our fall edition, it will be totally digital. We're saving the environment. We're trying to think of environmental issues and doing it this way. We're excited about how we can add to the resources for musicians and clergy and worship planners by having all those media connections and links in the journal upcoming. So I can't say enough wonderful things about what this organization has done for me as a musician, and has done for our services here at St. Paul's. We use a lot of the new hymns, we use a lot of the new music, we use a lot of the new strategies, and we're very pleased that I am very personally pleased that we have this connection, a network of musicians that we can pull from and talk to and share with. And it's meant an awful lot to me in my ministry here at St. Paul's. So thank you very much for letting me talk about that.
Thank you, Eric, for your thoughtfulness and careful planning and putting together such meaningful journals. I know that the fall journal will be centered around cultural music, and look forward to that as well. I have to say that this journal is one of the most important resources for me as a church musician. I am members of other larger organizations, but I find the UCC Musicians Association to be one of the strongest connections that I have with its members, and in general, the organization and the resources that it puts out there are very accessible. It truly holds true to its mission to inspire, educate, and nurture us as people planning and implementing worship. I think it's easy for us all, especially in this last year, to feel a bit isolated and alone in ministry. And so, as others on our panel have experienced, the support of our fellow colleagues is essential. I'm reminded of the title of the book by Mark Nepo, "We Are More Together Than Alone." I love the diversity that the United Church of Christ Musicians Association embraces in terms of the sizes of our churches and certainly in our musical styles. So it is, in wrapping up, it is my privilege to invite you to become a member of the United Church of Christ Musicians Association. On our website, uccma.org, you will see that one-year membership is only $75. We also offer institutional memberships for $100, where up to 6 members of your church can have access to our journals and our newsletters. So membership is also open to anyone in any denomination. So once you become a member, don't forget that you also will want to sign up and register for our conference, Brave New World, in early July. So I want to thank you again for spending time with us this afternoon, to getting to know more about the United Church of Christ Musicians Association. And thank you to Karen for hosting us, who I think is going to allow a brief time for some questions and answers.
Yeah, I appreciate hearing from all of you, and we're glad for all of you who have joined us. If you have a question for any of our presenters, or a question in general about the UCCMA, now is a great time to ask it. You can type that in the chat. You can type that in the Q&A. I would like to note we have a new panelist who just joined us, Jody Davis. Here you are. You're on screen. Guess what, my friend? You're getting thrown the mic. Tell us your UCCMA story. What do you love about this organization?
The colleagues are wonderful. The talent, their devotion to musicians is great. They're from all over the United States. And in fact, I'm a former president of the organization. I like that so much. I'm going to be an advisor coming forward. The board that's on here, the panelists now, are all great people. The conference coming up is going to be magnificent. Please consider joining in July. It's going to be great. There is so many opportunities for colleagues, for ideas, for singing, for playing, for spiritual growth. It will be a great asset to your life as a church musician.
That's so great to hear. So any of y'all, if you have joined us as a participant, if you have a question, you can ask that now. If I am not seeing any questions, I think y'all have done a really great job of explaining your organization. And I know that you put in a lot of great links about ways that people can connect. I wanted to note, I put, and I'm going to put right now, again, a couple of our upcoming webinars from PRC. I'm putting links to those in the chat now. You can register for those for free. I think they might be of particular interest to your folks because we're doing a panel discussion on a return to congregational singing next Tuesday, June 1st at 3:30 p.m. That'll be with the Center for Congregational Song and with a few local music directors from different size churches and different denominations talking about what they're doing. I'm hoping to resource people for this this very deeply contextual and very important issue. And then on Wednesday at 2 p.m. June 2nd, we have a webinar with Christian Copyright Licensing Institution, CCLI, is that what it stands for? Y'all correct me, I forgot. Christian Copyright Licensing International.
There you go.
I think international. It's international. And then CCS is Christian Copyright Solutions, which are sister companies. I did not realize, but they are. And so they're gonna be on with us together to talk about some of the things they offer and how they work together and how you can use their bundles to cover some of the work that you do. We're also hoping to schedule one with one license. And we're working on getting that on the schedule. Okay, so I'm not seeing any more questions. So I'd like to maybe throw it back to Greg or anyone else to offer us some words of closing.
Well, I just want to thank all of our panelists this afternoon for being with us. And thank you those who participated in the webinar for sharing this time with us. And Karen for hosting us. So thank you all very, very much.
Absolutely. We wish you all days full of peace and purpose. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.